Hope with us. Thanks, Dan.
Thank you. Yeah, so my name's Dan. I'm a recovered drug addict. And, thanks for having me here. I was just having a thought before the meeting. The first time I was in this room, in a meeting, I wasn't clean. I was in a state of relapse just after leaving the treatment centre, and slightly different today. And I'm grateful for that, and someone's passed the message on to me, so I'm going to show that and put that into action by passing the message on to someone else, so hopefully I can help them. I introduced myself as a recovered drug addict because I've not relapsed today and for a little while, and I've not used a strategy, and I've not put anything in place to keep myself clean from using. As a result of going through the steps and having a spiritual experience and living in all the steps. But my life was very much different to that, which is why I'm here. I'd like to relate to Fred in chapter 3 more about alcoholism. So Fred is a partner in a well-known accounting firm. His income is good. He has a fine home. He's happily married and the father of promising children of college age. He has so attractive a personality that he makes friends with everyone. If ever there was a successful businessman, it is Fred. To all appearance, he is a stable, well-balanced individual, yet he is an alcoholic or an addict. I'm very much like Fred, apart from the children. I was quite successful in business, in my career. I had a beautiful wife at home. I owned a home, had a nice car. Yeah, I was an addict, and to all appearance, for a good while, I looked normal. I looked all right, and I was doing all right. I pulled that and crashed it. I pulled it down before me due to relapse and being powerless and having no control over my using. He made up his mind to quit drinking altogether. It never occurred to him that perhaps he could not do so, in spite of his character and standing. I did all right at work. When I wasn't using, I was all right. I was trustworthy. If I wanted something doing, I'd 9 times out of 10 go and do it, Yet I couldn't control relapse. Even if I had a short period of sobriety, I'd relapse again, and I didn't know that word back then while it was happening in active addiction before I come into recovery. It happened. So how did I start using? I had a normal childhood. Got on with people. I was quite liked, quite popular, I suppose. Just enjoyed a drink. I started drinking probably about 14. Nothing serious. Weed come along. Every other day I started having a little bit of a smoke. That wasn't a problem. Pills came along about 15. Speed. And I loved it. I loved the effect it had on me, and that was the only reason why I used. I enjoyed it. Didn't really have anything going on at the time. A few consequences of getting off my nut and going out and maybe vandalising or having fights or getting in trouble with the law. Nothing substantial. If I said I'm not going to do that, I was able to stop at the time. And cocaine come along. And I loved it. Again, I loved it. It was a weekend thing. I was able to drink more while being on the coke. And again, I love the effect it had on me. A few years down the line, my using got heavier. It started to become, rather than a weekend thing, it was midweek. Having a big session, a couple of days long, possibly missing work or up late for work. and I worked for a business, a big contracting business, and so, you know, they wasn't noticing at the time. It wasn't until, you know, I met my missus, and she said to me, Dan, if you carry on using drugs, we're going to finish. This was 10 years ago, 11 years ago. I said, okay, I'll stop. And that didn't last very long at all. You know, although I was still drinking, I was still using behind her back. You know, I was still sniffing, and she'd ask me about it, I'd point blank deny it. You know, and then, you know, arguments came in, big, you know, arguing about my using at the time. So, firm resolution there, I'm going to stop. And this was 8 years ago. Probably lasted about a month or so, 2 months maybe, and then I'm back out drinking, out on the town, and straight away, as soon as I had a drink, the gear came into play. So, you know, the consequences there was just, you know, pissing off the wife. That was about it, until, you know, it started getting into my work. I found pure cocaine, and I was like, wow, this is it, this is me. Started picking up big bits of it, and decided to start selling it so I could use more for free. And that lasted a little while until I started using more. Then, you know, I was owing thousands of pounds out on tick, and I wasn't able to pay it because I hadn't sold any. I'd used it all. So then I was getting people turning up at my work and at my front door, and my missus is asking questions, what's going on? And then, you know, the more lies, more manipulating, and it's not my fault, it's them. So, yeah, it got more, it started interfering more with work. I wasn't turning into work. You know, I'd progressed in the business, and I'd been promoted, and from just a normal electrician, and I'd done my apprenticeship, I'd been promoted up, and I had my own car, I was going to different sites, and that gave me a bit more freedom around the using, I suppose, and I was able to hide it for a little bit until, you know, I was getting to sites 2 hours late, paranoid as anything, going hiding in the toilet. Not coming out, you know, I'd have meetings I was supposed to attend to, and I wasn't there. So the boss is starting to get a bit suspicious. And then my health took a real turn for the worse. I'm using on a daily basis, and I just had a 3-4 day spree, drinking drugs. And by this point, it didn't matter what drugs it was, to be honest. If there was something in front of me, I'd take it. And I was washing the gear up, and I had a seizure, and I was hospitalised, and yeah, it was pretty bad, and it happened just in front of my missus. And you know, if that weren't bad enough, you know, she didn't know I was on a spree. She was away at the time. She come back, and all of a sudden I started fitting on the floor, and hospitalised. I came out, and that was it. Firm resolution. You know, I promised myself I am not doing this again. I can't. You know, I nearly died. Within 2 days, I'm back, and I'm relapsing, and I'm at home. I've been signed off work for 4 weeks, and on a daily basis, non-stop, flat out on a spree. You know, the thing that was going to kill me, I picked it straight up again, and could not understand what was going on. I was baffled by this. You know, I was Googling rehabs where I could go in and out without anyone knowing, you know, my family and stuff, and obviously it didn't happen. You can't do that. So yeah, I promised myself I'm going to stop. So work started getting very suspicious. Well, carried on getting suspicious, and I was using in the toilet in the office at work, and someone heard me. And I came out, and they said, Dan, you know, we've got reasons to believe that you're using at work, and it's a gross misconduct. And I point blank denied it. I said, no, it's not true. So they took me in for a drug test, and on the way there, they said to me, "Dan, is this gonna be? You gonna pass this?" I said, "Yeah, promise." I meant it. I actually thought I was gonna pass it, and up to that point, it was crazy. My denial was just ridiculous, and so yeah, they tested me. A week went by, and they pulled me into a meeting room at work, and they said, "Look, Dan, it's there on paper, positive, 10 times the limit." And yeah, it took me a little while. I still tried to deny it. I still thought I could get away with my lies, and I broke down. I broke down that day in the office in tears in front of them, and I was just like, fucking hell, man. Told them all, told a lot. And so, yeah, I got suspended pending a disciplinary, and anyway, long story short, I got sacked. So another firm resolution, I ain't going to do this again. It's not going to happen. Just lost my job though, I was going to work there for life. Relapsed again, and just before the meeting, I googled the definition of relapse, and it's a deterioration after a period of improvement. So I started to improve for a little while. I've just been sacked. I've just had a seizure. A few days gone by. It's going to be all right this time. I mean it. I really mean it. Yeah, I relapsed again, and relapse went on and on and on. My missus is crying, saying, "Why are you doing this? Why am I not enough to keep you clean?" And she should have been, if I had willpower, she would have been enough. Hospitalised, that would have been enough. Losing my job, that would have been enough. Something happens, up to the point where I relapse, I forget what's going to happen. Yeah, I've just lost my job. Yeah, that doesn't come into my mind before I think it's all right to go and pick up a load of gear. Or if it does, it doesn't deter me with sufficient force to stop me, and I see that now. Yeah, self-knowledge wasn't enough, because I forget that. I forget about being an addict when I twist and I decide to go and pick up again. So page 35, more about alcoholism. What sort of thinking dominates an alcoholic or an addict who repeats time after time the desperate experiment of the first drink, the first line or the first pipe? Friends who have reasoned with him after a spree which has brought him to the point of divorce or bankruptcy are mystified when he walks directly into a saloon. Why does he? Of what is he thinking? I'm not thinking at that time, my family is just like, "Damn, why do you keep doing this?" I've had members of my family die of heroin overdoses, and that gets thrown into the mix. Why, Dan? Why can't you do this? You've seen what's happened to them. I'm not thinking about them when that happens, man. Nothing comes into my mind to deter me to go and pick up again. In certain circumstances, we have gone out deliberately to get drunk, feeling ourselves justified by nervousness, anger, worry, depression, jealousy, or the like. But even in this type of beginning, we are obliged to admit that our justification for a spree was insanely insufficient in the light of what always happened. We now see that when we began to drink deliberately instead of casually, there was little serious or effective thought during a period of premeditation of what the terrific consequences might be. So sometimes I went out to go because I was pissed off, or, but even in that scenario, in light of what was going to happen, after I went and picked up that first one, it just doesn't make sense. I might die after I pick up for that time. And so I ended up in a treatment centre last March, paid for by my family, taken out of society for 30 days, and that's all they could afford at the time. I got 30 days clean and I felt good, I got a little bit of sobriety, 30 days was a long time for me back then. And I felt good. You know, I felt like I started to regain control, and I had this. You know, my missus started trusting me again. I was allowed back into our home and started looking all right and feeling good. And 2 days after I came back out of treatment, I picked up an 8th gear. You know, I've just learnt a bit about myself and my relapse and my using. Yeah, I'll go and pick up an 8th gear. Started off another spree, and yeah, so I found CA through that treatment centre, you know, and relapse happened to me for quite a long time, even coming in and out of meetings. I found my sponsor, and he related to my relapse condition that I suffer with. You know, he didn't tell me, "Oh, Dan, you're not doing enough," every time I come back after a relapse. We discussed some stuff, and I went through the steps vigorously and honestly, and you know, it wasn't comfortable. Stuff that I thought I was going to take to the grave in my inventory, my step 4 and 5. Shared it with another man, my sponsor, who I trusted, and yeah, I made some amends to quite a few people that I'd harmed during my active addiction and before, you know, all the way through my life, and it was freeing, you know. And today I live in all the steps. And I show my gratitude from someone helping me by sitting here today trying to just send a message that, you know, there is a solution. It might not be easy, but, you know, yeah, I couldn't get a day clean. And me sitting here today has nothing to do with me, it's to do with God. And yeah, I'll leave it there. Cheers.